The Big Ten and the SEC are back to their old tricks where they're trying to alter the college football playoff in a situation where it benefits them more than it benefits anybody else in the sport or the sport as a whole. So let's talk about it, because I think there are a couple of things that the SEC and the Big Ten have gotten right in their quest to make the college football playoff completely advantageous for them. And I think there are some things that they have undeniably gotten wrong. So let's start with what they've got right. There's a push in the SEC, in the Big Ten, and I would guess that this is more from the Big Ten than the SEC if I had to put an estimate on it, that they want to get rid of the conference championship games, which I'm in favor of. One, conference championship games stink. And I think that most people outside of the SEC know that deep down conference championship games stink. It's an arbitrary way to decide a champion. People talk about they want the college football regular season to matter inherently, and the expanded college football playoff does away with that. I disagree with that notion, but I understand the thought process and logic. If you feel that way, conference championship games should piss you off, because a team can go 12-0, win all of their conference games by 35 points, and if they have a bad Saturday, they're not the conference champion. Well, that's dumb. If they lose to somebody who had lost 1 or 2 games or who got their ass kicked by somebody else during the regular season, if Oregon in 2024 wins all of their Big Ten games by 35 points and then has a bad Saturday against Penn State and Indianapolis, they're not the conference champion? That feels like a stupid way to crown a champion. And conference championship games, especially now in an 18-team or 16-team super conference era, there's no real way to tell who deserves to get into the title game, because the schedules are never going to be even. You're never going to be comparing apples to apples anymore. And so in each and every season, you will have the ability to say, well, that's not fair because XYZ. It's not fair because we had to play a tougher schedule. They didn't have to play as tough a schedule. They didn't have to travel 4 time zones or whatever. It's all arbitrary, and I think it's somewhat bullcrap. And we used to not look at the fact that it was arbitrary, but I think like the Big Ten championship game in 2020 really highlighted how arbitrary it was. Now, obviously, the 2020 college football season was a misnomer for a number of reasons. But before the season, the Big Ten says, like, hey, to make the conference championship, you have to do X, Y, Z. And due to no fault of their own for Ohio State did not meet the qualifications for X, Y, Z. They were not eligible to play in the Big Ten championship game. But the Big Ten went, shit, this is the best chance we've got for to make some money from the college football playoff. So we're going to have to put them in. Sorry, Indiana, we're going to screw you here. And did they screw Indiana? 100%. Absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, they screwed Indiana in the 2020 Big Ten season. You say you've got to play this amount of games. Ohio State wasn't able to field a team against Illinois because they had the Rona. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe there's anything gold in Fort Knox. I think Stevie Wonder ain't blind. I don't know if Kurt Cobain killed himself. And those are pretty much the conspiracy theories I believe. I could probably be talked into Michigan ducked Ohio State in 2020 to avoid getting just flat out boat raced. And that's one of my favorite, like, what ifs, because I'm here to tell you, if Ohio State plays Michigan in 2020, they beat the Wolverines by 50, and Jim Harbaugh ain't the coach in 2021. But it didn't turn out that way. I digress. In any event, that really highlighted for me the conference championship games are arbitrary. They are a useless exhibition to pretend as if this is a good way to crown a champion. All it is a TV show that Dr. Pepper pays a lot and Discover pays a lot to advertise to you. Fox pays a lot because you're going to watch an event that we bill as, holy cow, this is the granddaddy of them all. That's not the granddaddy of them all, but this is a big time event. This decides who's the champion of the Big Ten or who's the champion of the SEC. This has major playoff implications, and sometimes it didn't. It didn't. More frequently than not, it didn't have major playoff implications. Now, I think the SEC championship game matters more to those people because there's a lot of SEC self-importance that I've talked about at length in this show, which, like, you know what? More power to you. You have earned the idea. You've earned the right to say that you are the most important college football conference in America. And to some Georgia fans, sure, we got our ass kicked by Notre Dame in the playoff, but by God, we won the SEC championship, which I think is a really weird way to look at your season. But that's not for me to decide. So I think conference championship games stink. And if we got rid of them and start the playoff weeks earlier, to me, that is an undeniable good thing for the college football playoff, because for college football and for the college football playoff, because right now the season is really long. And I think I'm not alone in the idea that I would love to see the college football season end on a Saturday. You watch college football every Saturday from September through November, and then this year through December for the playoffs. But then, oh, by the way, we're going to end it on a Monday night. Feels dumb. So if there's a way to advance the calendar, shrink the calendar just a little bit, and say, we're going to do away with this one thing that is really kind of fruitless and pointless, I'm here for it. So I will thank the Big Ten and the SEC if they are able to do away with conference championship games. The other good thing that I think the latest proposal from these two schools is supposedly going to include is some semblance of a scheduling agreement. Now, whether that is the SEC moves to 9 conference games, which I think they should do. I'm not an SEC administrator, can't make that decision for them, but I do think that there should be some agreement of, are we playing 8 games or are we playing 9 conference games? Which one is it? And the Big Ten certainly feels entrenched that they are playing 9 conference games. And so I hope the SEC and every other conference that doesn't play 9 conference games gets on board and says, we're going to play 9 conference games. But I hope that a Big Ten SEC scheduling agreement means we are going to get big-time games between big-time brands, big-time programs, big-time fan bases in on-campus stadiums, because I don't think this happens enough. I don't think you get enough. Alabama is playing at Wisconsin. Texas is playing at Ohio State. Michigan is playing at Oklahoma. I don't think you get enough of those. You get them a lot in bowl games. You get them sometimes in neutral site games where Georgia's going to play somebody in a neutral site game in Atlanta. That is not a neutral site game. LSU is going to play somebody in a neutral site game in New Orleans at the Superdome. That is not a neutral site game. Just because you call it that doesn't make it so. So I want to see Florida, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, on-campus stadiums. I want in the Big Ten. I want to see Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and Iowa and Wisconsin and Nebraska in campus stadiums at Ole Miss, at Missouri, at wherever. Get the games on campus. I think that's a great, undeniable good thing for college football as a whole. You need bigger matchups, bigger games, because I'm here to tell you, people love college football, and people are deeply addicted to their favorite programs. When your favorite program is playing an FCS school or a directional school or a where in the hell is that even at school, it's really easy to feign interest. It's really easy to lose interest. It's really easy to become apathetic to a program. College football is now in an entertainment world where there are millions of options. And so if people are going to choose college football, you have to provide them really entertaining matchups. For the health of the sport, I think that's a good thing. So playing either the same number of games, which I think is a non-negotiable. I think if I'm the Big Ten, I'm telling the SEC, I am not doing anything with you until we get on the same page with this issue. So let's figure it out. That's a pretty stern way to negotiate, but I firmly believe that it's that important. So I think those are the two good things out of this. Conference championship games suck. and better, bigger non-conference games between the sport's biggest, most prominent and powerful brands and programs, really good thing. The two things, or maybe the one thing that I think sucks, is the idea that the Big Ten and SEC firmly believe that they deserve more than one automatic bid to the college football playoff. I think it shows weakness when you're trying to exude strength, because I think if you believe that your conference is so great, that your football teams are so significantly better than everybody else, that you don't have to angle for automatic spots. You don't have to say, by God, just because I've got the Big Ten logo on my chest or the SEC circle on my chest, I am therefore better than. The idea that the fourth best team in the SEC is immediately and intricately better than the second best team in the ACC or the Big 12 is poppycock to me. That's ridiculous. Can it be true? Yes, 100%. Is it definitively true? Is it definitively true that whoever finishes in fourth place in the Big Ten or SEC is definitively better than the second best team in the ACC or the Big 12? No, it's not. It's 100% not the case. And so I think that's a ridiculous, self-serving argument to make. And I don't generally like ridiculous, self-serving arguments. So the idea that just because you're the fourth best team in the SEC means you should automatically make the playoff, that to me is the more negating the regular season of anything. Because my argument has always been that an expanded college football playoff makes more games more important than just a select few throughout the season. And more games that are more important attract more eyeballs. It's a good thing. But just because things didn't go the way the SEC wanted them to in the first college football playoff that featured a 12-team field, I don't think means that they deserve to have 4 teams in just because they're the SEC. Just like I don't think being the fourth best team in the Big Ten should automatically earn you a spot in the college football playoff. I think spots in the college football playoff should shockingly, and this is a wild one, be earned on the field, not just be given to you because you're in the right conference and you played good enough. I think that sucks. It would be, I somewhat hate the NFL to college football equivalent arguments, but like, oh, the NFC North has been so good the last 4 years. They should get 3 teams in the playoffs every year just because. Or win your damn games. Wild take. So I hate the idea of like, and whether even if my team was going to benefit from it, I think that sucks. Oh, I'm the 4th best team in my own conference, but I'm the 7th best seed. I'm the 7th seed in the college football playoff just because I play in this conference. Meanwhile, everybody else in the sport has to fight for what they earn. No, if sports are about merit and sports are about meritocracy, earn your damn way to a title. I don't think that's controversial. And yet, there are the 2 largest power brokers in the sport are angling for not meritocracy. And I think that sucks. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you want to see more intra-conference matchups between the SEC and the Big Ten? Do you want to see conference championships stay or go away? Let me know in the comments down below. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you get all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you're listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.